Timbuktu and Machu Picchu, both of the greatest cities in Africa and South America during the period of European conquest. They were the most technologically advanced in their continents, yet they had not come near to Eurasia in terms of the technological progress that it had made. The advantages of any given continent are defined by their ability to domesticate wild animals, effectively grow crops, their ability to avoid disease, and combining all these factors conquer other nations and locations and ultimately spread their ideas and inventions. Two of the three most disadvantaged countries were South America and Africa. South America had a slight advantage over Africa, which ultimately allowed South American people to be closer than Africans to the level of sophistication that Eurasian communities were experiencing. Africa, being the second largest continent in the world, covers 20% of the Earth's landmass. On one level, Africa is able to sustain a variety of agricultural communities throughout the continent because of the drastic climate differences that are present. However, because of the different climates, a species that can thrive in the northeastern portion of the continent will die in another area. This prevents the spread of animals, crops, and the ability of the people to progress technologically. The few advantages that Africa has as a continent are that in the north and east it is drier and more temperate, allowing wild sorghum, a tall, robust cereal plant, to grow abundantly. Yams and plantains are also some of the only other vegetation that can be domesticated and eaten. Wild fruits, berries, and nuts provide some nutrients, but hunting was the best way to gain sustenance. Although Africa has the biggest range of wildlife on the planet, the success of Africans in domesticating animals was non-existent. Out of the 51 animal species that meet some of the criteria for domestication in Africa, 0 species meet all of them. To be domesticable, a species must be the right size, have a good temperament, have a relatively fast growth rate, and a convenient diet for the person feeding it. These criteria rule out zebras. Many have asked why the zebra cannot be domesticated while the horse can. Zebras are hard to catch, have great peripheral vision, are mean-tempered, and can kill a person with one kick. Because of the impending threat from aggressive safari animals, zebras need all of their mean temperaments to survive. The positive part of not domesticating animals is that infectious diseases like smallpox, influenza, and the measles had less of a chance of reaching Africans. Yet another disadvantage of this continent was that malaria was ever present in Africa and responsible for more deaths every year than from any other disease. This killed many people and slowed down the advance of civilization. The Africans were overall disadvantaged as a continent, and this is why they were not able to move ahead technologically and conquer other territories. South America was another one of the unluckier locations. Covering 12.5% of the Earth's landmass, this continent spans from the southern tip of Chile to the northern edge of Colombia. Although South America was unable to conquer other nations and spread agricultural techniques around the globe, the South Americans were a tad more advantageous than Africa when it came to their number of domesticable animals, crops, and the continent's geographical location. South Americans can grow corn, peppers, fruits such as the tomato, root crops, and potatoes. However, to domesticate all of these crops and replant them, the ground needed to be heavily worked and irrigated. Because of the mountains that surrounded places like the Inca civilization in Peru, it was too challenging for humans to travel across, and agricultural techniques, new ideas, and writing couldn't spread from Mexico. The success of South America in domesticating animals was minimal. Only in the domestication of the llama were the South American people fortunate. The llama, most commonly used for its wool, meat, dung, and hides, lives in the Andes Mountains in Peru. They have a high tolerance for thirst and an appetite for a broad range of plants, which makes them all the easier to maintain. But the llama offers limited opportunities for direct human use. It can carry only a very light load and can't pull machinery or carry humans. This is why when Europeans rode in on horses, the South Americans, the Incas in specific, were so astonished. There was no way to bring the llama around the continent since the change in climate would be devastating for them. South American climate consisted of many tropical areas that were uninhabitable. In terms of the structure of South America, the whole continent is bordered by mountains and rainforests. Living areas, such as highlands, required heavy terracing and possible irrigation in order to benefit for living. On top of that, communication with others in the continent or in North America was impossible, so technologies never spread and the Incas remained isolated from their neighbors. When the Europeans arrived, they saw that the Spanish had made some advancements, even some much greater than those of Africa, but none had come close to the sophisticated society that Europe had built. The location of a continent is the most important aspect about it. It determines the extent of a civilization's growth and its ability to conquer others. Africa and South America were part of the bottom tier in terms of resources and potentiality to spread their lifestyle throughout the world. Therefore, they were conquered peoples instead of being conquerors.